The moment they stepped forward, everything changed. Alarms were triggered, guards surrounded them. "Who is your father?" they demanded. The twin black girls stared back, confused, terrified. But this wasn't random. Someone powerful had pulled strings to stop them from boarding. Secrets were collapsing, lies unraveling, and the man who abandoned them would do anything, to make sure his name stayed buried. What was supposed to be a vacation just became a fight for the truth. The early morning sun glared through the towering glass windows of the international terminal. Inside, the air buzzed with the usual blend of airport chaos. Families dragging luggage, children crying, flight announcements crackling over the speakers, and travelers rushing from one gate to another. But for Nia and Nola, today was supposed to be different. This was their first major trip on their own. Two 17-year-old sisters finally free from the routine of high school, ready to experience the world outside the small city they'd grown. Up and Nia adjusted her backpack strap and smiled at her sister. "Can you believe it? We're actually doing this." Nola grinned. "First stop Paris, then London. If Mom could see us now." Before she could finish, Nia's phone buzzed. A text from their mother, Dana. "Be careful. Text me when you land. I love you both." Nia quickly typed back, "We will. Love you too, Mom." Their passports were valid. Their tickets were booked months in advance. They had their vaccination records, travel insurance, and letters from their mother authorizing international travel as minors. Everything was in order, or so they thought. As they approached the boarding gate, the airline agent gave them a brief glance and forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She scanned their passports, then the tickets. For a moment, the scanner beeped red. The agent frowned, scanned again, this time slower. Another red beep. Her smile faded entirely now. She muttered under her breath. Nia and Nola exchanged a quick look, confused but still calm. "Is there a problem?" Nia asked politely. The agent didn't respond right away. She tapped something into her terminal, her fingers moving fast and rigid. Her eyes darted across the screen as if she was reading something unexpected. Then she looked up, her voice tense but controlled. "I'm sorry, I need to call my supervisor. Please step aside for a moment." That was the first crack in the illusion of a smooth journey. Two security officers dressed in Navy uniforms with the airline's logo appeared out of nowhere. They weren't TSA but private airport security, and they didn't look friendly. "Is there something wrong?" Nola asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "We just need to verify a few things," one of the guards said flatly. "Standard. Protocol." The supervisor arrived moments later, a tall woman with sharp features and an air of authority. She introduced herself as Ms. Reynolds, but her tone was cold, official, almost rehearsed. "Miss Nia and Miss Nola Sanders, correct?" she asked. "Yes," they both answered simultaneously. "We've encountered a flag on your booking. Before you board, we need to verify some additional information." The twins exchanged nervous glances again. "What kind of information?" Nia asked. Ms. Reynolds paused before answering. "We need you to confirm the identity of your father." The words dropped like a hammer. "Our father?" Nola repeated, her voice rising in disbelief. "Why does that matter? Our mother booked the tickets." "We understand," Ms. Reynolds said, still maintaining her cold, professional tone. "However, we've received a directive tied to your travel authorization. Until the identity of your father is confirmed, you will not be permitted to board." "This has to be a mistake," Nia said, her voice sharp now. "We have all the paperwork." Ms. Reynolds stayed silent. The two security guards closed in slightly, as if silently reinforcing the message. The tension in the terminal was suddenly electric. Other passengers nearby had begun to slow down, eavesdropping, sensing something out of the ordinary. A few curious travelers subtly raised their phones and started recording. "This is harassment," Nola said, her face flushing red with anger. "You have no right to ask us that." Ms. Reynolds looked over at one of the guards. "They're minors, traveling internationally. Certain security measures require parental confirmation when irregularities arise." "What irregularities?" Nia snapped. But Ms. Reynolds didn't answer that question. She simply repeated, "We need to verify the identity of your father." The girls' hearts pounded. They both knew why this was happening, or at least they thought they did. Their mother had always been vague about their father. She'd told them only that he was someone important, someone powerful. But she had never revealed his name. Until now, it never seemed to matter. Nola reached for her phone and quickly called their mother. Pick up," she whispered urgently. Dana answered on the second ring. "Hey baby, what's wrong?" "Mom, they're not letting us board," Nola said quickly. "They're saying something about Dad." There was a pause on the other end, just long enough to make both girls more anxious. "Put me on speaker," Dana said calmly. Nola held the phone out. "You're on." Dana's voice was clear but firm, the tone of a mother ready to fight. "Who exactly authorized you to interrogate my daughters about their father?" Ms. Reynolds stiffened. "Ma'am, we're following a directive passed down to us through security channels." "From who?" Dana demanded. "I'm not authorized to disclose the source." Dana's voice hardened. "You are violating their rights, and if you don't let them board immediately, you'll have a legal team at your gate before you can blink." The tension was razor sharp now. The small group of passengers filming had grown larger. Airport staff whispered behind their counters. The energy shifted. This wasn't just an ordinary check anymore. It was becoming a spectacle. Ms. Reynolds hesitated for the first time. She signaled one of the security guards, who whispered something into her earpiece. She listened carefully, then her face paled ever so slightly. Nia caught it. "What did they just tell you?" she asked sharply. But Ms. Reynolds remained professional. "We're waiting for clearance." "From who?" Nola pressed. "The FBI, CIA, our father's personal lawyer? Who's behind this?" Ms. Reynolds said nothing. The silence was almost louder than words. More phones were now pointed at them. Some passengers were live streaming the event. Comments flooded in as people watching online tried to piece together what was happening. Dana's voice broke through again. "Stay calm, girls. This is bigger than them. I'll be there in 10 minutes. As the girls stood surrounded by uniformed officers blocked from boarding and watched by dozens of strangers, one thing became terrifyingly clear. This wasn't about airline security. This was about power, about secrets, and about a man they had never met, but who clearly wasn't ready for them to fly. The terminal was buzzing with the usual noise of boarding calls, families chatting, and the constant beep of carts rolling by. But for Nia and Nola, everything faded into silence the moment the gate agent's eyes narrowed on their passports. The woman behind the counter, her name tag read Mrs. Jensen, flipped through the documents again, her lips tightening. She pressed a button beneath the counter. The twins exchanged glances, feeling a sudden shift in the atmosphere. "I'm sorry, girls, but I need you to step aside for a moment," Mrs. Jensen said, her tone oddly polite but firm. "There's been a discrepancy." "A discrepancy?" Nola asked, furrowing her brow. "We checked in 2 hours ago. The passports cleared. The tickets were scanned. Everything was fine." "Yes. Well," Mrs. Jensen glanced nervously toward the side hallway, where 2 uniformed security officers were approaching. "Unfortunately, new information has just come to light. We need to clarify something before we can allow you to board." The twins felt the weight of everyone's eyes. Other passengers began to whisper, pulling out their phones. Someone nearby was already recording. "Can you tell us what this is about?" Nia asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "We've done everything by the book." "I'm not authorized to disclose that," Mrs. Jensen replied. "Please follow the officers, this won't take long." The officers weren't rough, but they weren't gentle either. They flanked the girls and led them through a side door marked "Restricted Access." The fluorescent lights flickered above as they walked through a sterile hallway that smelled faintly of bleach. Inside a small, windowless room, 2 other individuals waited, a man in a tailored black suit and a woman holding a slim tablet, her expression cold and clinical. They weren't airport staff. These were government agents. The man spoke first. "Nia and Nola Chambers, correct?" "Yes," they answered in unison. "I am Agent Parker. This is Agent Liu. We're here under the authority of federal security protocols." "Why? What's going on?" Nia asked, her heartbeat quickening. Agent Parker didn't blink. "There's been an alert attached to your travel records. You've been flagged under the Identity Protection Directive. Before we can authorize your departure, we need to confirm your paternal identity." Nola blinked in disbelief. "Our what?" "Your father's name," Agent Liu repeated. "We need it." The room seemed to shrink. The sisters looked at each other, then back at the agents. "That's not your business," Nola snapped, her voice cracking. "Our documents are valid. We're minors but traveling with full legal consent. Our mother signed everything. Why do you care who our father is?" Agent Parker's jaw flexed. "The directive is in place for national security concerns. We cannot proceed without this verification." "This is insane," Nia said, her voice now shaking. "We've never even met our father." Agent Liu's eyes sharpened. Then perhaps your mother can provide the information. She's listed as your legal guardian, correct? We've already contacted her. She's en route. The air felt heavy. The agents sat perfectly still like wolves waiting for a slip. The seconds ticked by. Outside the small office, the muffled sound of announcements continued. Other people, boarding planes heading to their destinations. But the twins were trapped in this strange, tense limbo. This isn't about security, is it? Nola whispered finally. This is about him. Agent Parker's eyes darted just for a moment. A flicker of recognition. We're not authorized to discuss that. Naya's voice cracked. You're being used. Miss Chambers, please understand. The faster you comply, the faster you'll be allowed to board. But the twins weren't stupid. They could feel the invisible strings being pulled behind the scenes. This wasn't routine. Someone had set this up. Someone powerful enough to trigger a federal alert for 2 teenage girls at a civilian airport. The door opened suddenly, and their mother, Dana Chambers, burst into the room, breathless and furious. I want answers now, she demanded. Agent Liu stood up but kept her voice neutral. Mrs. Chambers, your daughter's travel has been flagged under Identity Protection Directive 7B. Directive 7B? Dana repeated, her face darkening. That's reserved for the families of high-profile government officials and witnesses under protective orders. You're telling me someone classified my daughters as a threat? We are not at liberty. Cut the crap, Dana snapped. I know exactly who made that call. The agent stayed silent. That silence spoke volumes. Nola stood up now, trembling but angry. Is this because of him? Because of our father? Dana exhaled sharply, glancing at the agents, knowing any word spoken here could be used later, but she had reached her limit. Yes, she said finally, because of your father. Agent Parker spoke carefully now. Mrs. Chambers, if you simply confirm the identity, we can clear your daughters immediately. Dana's lips curled into a bitter smile. You mean if I give you the ammunition to blackmail him? No one is suggesting. You don't have to suggest it. I know how this game works. For a moment, there was complete silence. Only the soft hum of the fluorescent lights filled the air. Dana lowered her voice, speaking to her daughters now. Girls, your father is a powerful man. He built his career on lies, and now he's terrified you'll expose him. The agents shifted uncomfortably. The tension in the room was suffocating. Nia's voice broke. Why would he do this to us? Because people like him don't care who they hurt as long as their secrets stay buried, Dana whispered. Agent Parker tried one last time. Mrs. Chambers, if you refuse to cooperate, your daughters may not be allowed to board today. Dana stared at him coldly. And if you continue this illegal detainment, I'll have every civil rights attorney in the country outside this room before sunset. For the first time, Agent Parker hesitated. The door opened again. A senior airport official entered. Nervous, sweating. We're releasing the girls, he announced quickly. They're free to board. What changed? Agent Liu asked, surprised. The official held up his phone. Social media. The video of this whole mess is already viral. Senator or not, this isn't going away. Dana smirked. Tell your boss his secret's not safe anymore. As the agent stood helpless, the twins gathered their things. Their hearts were pounding, but they walked out of that room with their heads high. The game had changed, and this was just the beginning. The minutes dragged like hours as the twins sat in a small windowless room inside the airport's security office. The cold fluorescent lights flickered above them, casting eerie shadows on the beige walls. Nia rubbed her hands nervously, trying to keep her voice steady. This has to be a mistake, she whispered, glancing at her sister. But deep down, she knew better. Nola sat across from her, her knee bouncing restlessly. Nia, what if it's him? The words hung in the air like poison. They had grown up knowing very little about their father. Their mother, Dana, had always shut down any conversations about him. He was not part of their lives. That's all she ever said. Over time, the girls learned not to ask, but they always knew. Someone was out there. Someone powerful. Someone who wanted nothing to do with them. The heavy metal door creaked, open, and 2 men in suits stepped inside. They weren't airport staff. That was clear from their demeanor. No name badges, no uniforms. Just sharp suits and cold stares. Miss Naya, Miss Nola, one of them said. His voice was calm, but carried an underlying threat. We're here to help clear up a few things. Why can't we get on the plane? Nia asked, her voice sharper than she intended. Our documents are valid. Our tickets are paid for. What exactly is the problem? The man ignored the question. We've been authorized to ask some personal questions regarding your parentage. Our what? Nola shot back. Why would our parents have anything to do with boarding a flight? That's classified, the man said flatly. Classified. The word sent a chill down Nia's spine. Nola's temper flared. You're detaining us for no reason. We haven't done anything illegal. The second man finally spoke, his voice colder. No one said you did. But your case triggered certain protocols due to your unique situation. We simply need confirmation of your biological father's identity before you can proceed. Nia's hands clenched into fists. We don't even know who our father is. The first man gave them a thin, knowing smile. That's unfortunate, but someone else knows. And that's why we're here. Before either girl could respond, the door opened again. This time it was their mother, Dana, breathless from sprinting through the terminal. Her eyes darted between the agents and her daughters. What is going on here? She demanded. The first agent stepped forward. Ms. Dana Wilkins, thank you for joining us. I didn't join you, she snapped. I came because you're unlawfully detaining my daughters. Ms. Wilkins, the agent continued, keeping his calm mask. This doesn't have to escalate. We need to verify certain details that are tied to government security protocols. Dana narrowed her eyes. Security protocols? For two teenage girls going on vacation? Spare me. Your daughters triggered a federal watch list, the second agent stated bluntly. There are outstanding protective orders involving the identity of their father. Orders that supersede standard travel clearances. Dana's face drained of color for a moment, but she quickly recovered. That information was supposed to be sealed. The first man smiled again. Cold. Rehearsed. It was. Until someone flagged their international travel. Once flagged, we have to act. The twins watched in horror. Nola leaned in. Mom, what is this? What are they talking about? Dana's lips tightened. She had hoped they would never have to face this. She took a deep breath. Girls, there's something you need to know. The agents silently observed, as if savoring the moment. Dana's voice quivered slightly. Your father, he's a public figure. A very powerful one. When I was young, I made a mistake. I fell for someone who promised me the world, but couldn't risk his career if the world knew about you. The words landed like a punch to the gut. Nola's eyes widened. Who? Dana hesitated. A sitting U.S. senator. The room fell completely, silent. Nia's stomach twisted. Which senator? She asked, her voice trembling. Dana shook her head. That's not important right now. The agents exchanged a brief glance before one of them interjected. Actually, it is important, and it's the reason we're here. Dana's glare hardened. You people don't scare me. You're trying to protect him, aren't you? You're using federal resources to keep his secret while intimidating my daughters. The second agent's face twitched slightly, but he remained composed. Ms. Wilkins, we strongly advise full cooperation. This isn't just about privacy. It's about national security. National security? Nola snapped. We're 17-year-old girls. How is this about security? The first agent exhaled, as if tired of the pretense. Because if your father's political enemies get hold of verified evidence of your existence, they could exploit it for blackmail, destabilizing ongoing negotiations he's involved in. This isn't personal. It's politics. Dana stepped in front of her daughters, shielding them like a lioness protecting her cubs. You're not going to threaten my children. If he's so concerned, let him face them himself. The agents exchanged another look as though silently debating their next move. But before anything else could be said, the door buzzed, and a voice came over the intercom. Stand down. Release them. The agents froze. One of them reached for an earpiece. Sir, the voice repeated, sharper this time. I said stand down. The agents reluctantly backed away. Dana took her daughter's hands. We're leaving. As they walked out, escorted by a now silent airport staff, Nia whispered to her sister, this isn't over. Nola's jaw clenched. Not even close. Outside the terminal, a black car waited. And somewhere far away, a powerful man watched the entire scene unfold on a secure live feed. His face pale, his secret slipping through his fingers. The Black SUV cut through the streets like a shark through still water, silent and deliberate. Inside, the twins sat on either side of their mother, their minds racing. The brief silence inside the vehicle was heavier than the confrontation they had just left behind. "Mom, you can't keep protecting him anymore," Nia said, voice trembling but fierce. Dana sighed, pressing her forehead into her palm. "I didn't want this for you. I thought, if I kept his name out of your lives, you'd be safe. I never imagined he'd go this far." "Who is he, Mom?" Nola pressed, her voice sharp. "Say his name." Dana hesitated for what felt like a lifetime. Finally, she spoke. "Senator Richard Calloway." The name hit like a hammer. Calloway, one of the most powerful men in the country, known for his ruthless political tactics, his clean public image, and his iron grip on Washington. "He knew about us?" Nia asked, stunned. Dana nodded. "He always knew. He paid me to stay quiet. Non-disclosure agreements, threats, lawyers, the whole machine. I thought I could raise you both away from his shadow. But now his shadow's right here," Nola said bitterly. Dana's phone vibrated. Unknown caller. She answered, putting it on speaker. "Dana." The voice was deep, calculated, cold. "Calloway, you've crossed a line," Dana snapped. "I told my team to stand down, but don't mistake my patience for weakness," Calloway said. "You're putting my career, my family, and this nation at risk." "These are your daughters, Richard," Dana said, voice rising. "You've spent years pretending they don't exist, and now you're trying to erase them again." "You don't understand the enemies I have," Calloway said sharply. "If the wrong people learn about them, it won't be me they'll target. It'll be the girls." "That's not your concern anymore," Dana growled. "You lost the right to call them yours years ago." For a moment there was silence on the line. "Don't do this, Dana," Calloway said, voice softer, but no less dangerous. "You know how this game is played." The call cut off. The SUV pulled to a stop outside their home, but none of them moved. The twins sat frozen. "He's scared," Nia finally whispered. Nola nodded. "Good. He should be." Dana exhaled. "This isn't over. Now that the media has the footage, it's only a matter of time before his secret becomes public." As they stepped out of the car, a group of reporters had already gathered across the street. Cameras flashed, microphones were raised. "Ms. Wilkins, is it true Senator Calloway is the father? Are the twins his illegitimate children? Is there a cover-up happening right now?" Dana shielded her daughters as they pushed through the crowd. This was only the beginning. The secret was out, and there was no putting it back by morning. The story was everywhere. Every major news outlet ran with the headline, "Senator Richard Calloway's secret daughters exposed in airport scandal." Social media exploded. Hashtags like Jock Calloway scandal, Jock or the twins, and Jock abuse of power trended worldwide. Pundits, politicians, and activists weighed in from every corner of the political spectrum. The public was enraged. Some were shocked by the cover-up. Others were disgusted by the abuse of government power used to detain two minors for political reasons. Dana sat at the kitchen table, eyes glued to the TV as commentators dissected every piece of their story. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, attorneys, advocacy groups, even old friends she hadn't heard from in years. Nia and Nola stood nearby, watching the chaos unfold. "I can't believe how fast this blew up," Nia whispered. Nola's jaw tightened. He made it blow up. His own paranoia dragged him into the spotlight. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Dana peered through the peephole before cautiously opening it. A sharply dressed woman handed her a legal envelope. "What's this?" Dana asked. "Senator Calloway's attorneys. An emergency cease and desist." Dana took the envelope without flinching. "Tell him to go to hell." The woman said nothing and walked away. Inside, Dana opened the letter and read it quickly. "He's trying to silence us again," she said, voice steady. "He wants us to sign new NDAs, threaten us with defamation lawsuits. Same old game." "This time we fight back," Nola said firmly. "We're not scared of him anymore." The doorbell rang again. This time, it was a group of civil rights attorneys offering their support pro bono. They assured Dana and the girls that they had a strong case, not just against Calloway, but potentially against the agencies who illegally detained them at the airport. The scandal grew uglier for Calloway with every passing hour. Journalists uncovered old settlements, sealed documents, and whispers of other hidden indiscretions. His spotless image crumbled before the nation's eyes. By the end of the week, Senator Calloway faced a full Senate ethics investigation. Several political allies distanced themselves, calling for his resignation. Protesters camped outside his offices. Sponsors pulled their support. At a televised press conference, Calloway appeared, visibly thinner, eyes sunken. "I made mistakes in my personal life," he admitted. "But I acted in the best interest of national security. I never meant to harm anyone." But no one believed him anymore. For Nia and Nola, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about freedom, about finally being seen, about stripping away years of silence and fear. Standing on the front porch looking out at the media van still parked across the street, Nia whispered, "We were supposed to just go on vacation." Nola smiled grimly. "Instead, we took down a giant." Dana stood behind them, her arms around both girls. "And you did it together." As they turned to go back inside, the sun broke through the clouds, a small promise of brighter days ahead.